You are not becoming a queen. You are remembering that you already are one. Queens are not crowned by applause, approval, or external permission. They are crowned the moment they decide to govern themselves. Long before power is visible, it is internal. Long before authority is acknowledged, it is embodied. Behavioral psychology teaches us that identity precedes behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. When you see yourself as disposable, negotiable, or small, your actions will quietly confirm that belief. When you recognize your inherent worth and inner authority, your behavior shifts without effort. A queen does not announce who she is. She aligns her thoughts, standards, and energy with self-respect so consistently that the world adjusts around her. Self-respect is not loud. It is not reactive. It does not beg, chase, or explain itself. It is a quiet, unshakable decision to treat yourself as someone valuable. Neuroscience tells us that the brain takes cues from repetition. When you repeatedly abandon your own needs, ignore your intuition, or tolerate disrespect, your nervous system learns that you are unsafe to yourself. But when you choose dignity over drama, boundaries over approval, and composure over impulse, you retrain your brain to experience stability and authority from within. This is where queenship begins, not in confidence, but in consistency. A queen's identity is rooted, not performative. She does not borrow her sense of worth from relationships, outcomes, or recognition. She understands that self-worth is not an emotion, it is a standard. Emotions fluctuate, standards do not. When you anchor your identity in values instead of validation, you stop outsourcing your power. You no longer rise and fall based on how others treat you, because your internal hierarchy is clear. You know where you stand with yourself. That clarity alone creates presence, because people unconsciously respond to those who are internally aligned. Psychologically, people test what they sense is uncertain. When your self-image is fragile, others feel it and push against it, sometimes subtly, sometimes openly. Not because they are evil, but because humans instinctively explore boundaries. A queen does not fear this. She understands that the world mirrors her internal structure. If you tolerate inconsistency, you invite instability. If you embody self-respect, you signal limits without speaking. This is why dignity is more effective than dominance. It does not intimidate, it calibrates. Inner authority is the ability to self-govern regardless of external pressure. It is emotional discipline in moments where reaction would feel satisfying but costly. A queen pauses, not because she is weak, but because she is strategic. She understands impulse control is power. Studies in emotional regulation show that those who can delay reaction and choose response maintain greater influence and long-term success. When you stop reacting, you start leading. When you stop explaining, you start commanding. Silence, when chosen consciously, is not avoidance. It is authority. To act like a queen means you stop negotiating your worth in every interaction. You stop overgiving to earn belonging. You stop shrinking to keep peace. You stop proving, convincing, and performing. Instead, you move with quiet certainty. You let your standards filter people naturally. Not everyone will qualify for access to you, and that is not arrogance. It is discernment. Queens understand that access is earned through respect, not demanded through effort. They do not fear being misunderstood by those who lack the depth to see them. Behavioral psychology shows that self-concept dictates tolerance. When you see yourself as rare, you do not accept common treatment. When you see yourself as valuable, you do not bargain with those who mishandle you. This does not make you cold. It makes you clear. Clarity is kindness to yourself. And self-kindness is not softness. It is strength directed inward. The most powerful women are not hardened. They are anchored. They feel deeply, but they do not leak emotionally into environments that cannot hold them. A queen is emotionally intelligent enough to observe her feelings without being ruled by them. She does not deny emotion, but she does not worship it either. She understands that feelings are information, not instructions. This is crucial. When emotions lead unchecked, they pull you into reactions that undermine your dignity. When emotions are acknowledged and then guided by values, they become allies instead of saboteurs. Emotional maturity is not about suppressing feeling. It is about choosing behavior that aligns with self-respect, even when emotions are intense. Your nervous system plays a silent role in how you show up. When you live in people-pleasing, over-explaining, or hypervigilance, your body is in a constant state of threat response. A queen regulates herself first. She breathes before she speaks. She grounds before she moves. She does not rush to fill silence or smooth discomfort. She allows space, knowing that space reveals truth. Calm is not passivity. It is control over your internal environment. And those who control their inner world are not easily destabilized by the outer one. Dignified feminine power is not performative confidence. It is embodied safety. When you are safe within yourself, you stop seeking refuge in others. You stop attaching your identity to outcomes. You stop fearing abandonment because you are no longer abandoning yourself. This internal safety creates an aura of composure that others feel immediately. It is why some women walk into a room and nothing changes, while others walk in and the energy reorganizes. It is not beauty. It is not volume. It is coherence between who they are and how they move. Acting like a queen also means accepting responsibility for your standards. You do not blame others for crossing boundaries you never enforced. You observe patterns without self-betrayal. Responsibility is not self-criticism. It is self-ownership. A queen asks, "What am I allowing?" before asking, "Why are they doing this?" This question alone shifts you from victimhood into agency. Agency is the foundation of power. Without it, confidence is fragile. With it, even silence speaks. Self-respect requires grieving old versions of yourself, the version that overextended, the version that stayed too long, the version that mistook attention for care. Growth involves mourning who you were when you didn't know better. A queen does not shame her past, she integrates it. She learns, adjusts, and moves forward with grace. Behavioral change is not instantaneous. It is built through repetition, awareness, and choice. Every time you choose dignity over impulse, you reinforce your new identity neurologically. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be aligned with yourself. When you prioritize alignment, you may lose people who benefited from your self-doubt. Let them go without explanation. Queens do not argue with those committed to misunderstanding them. They conserve energy for what builds, not what drains. Your energy is a finite resource. Where you invest it determines the quality of your life. Spend it on integrity, not approval. To start acting like a queen, you must first sit on the throne within. That throne is built from self-trust. Every time you honor your intuition, you reinforce it. Every time you dismiss it, you weaken it. Intuition is not mystical. It is the brain integrating experience faster than conscious thought. Queens listen to it because it has protected them long before logic caught up. When you trust yourself, decision-making becomes cleaner. You stop asking for permission to choose what feels right. Your presence is shaped by what you tolerate internally. If your self-talk is harsh, chaotic, or self-diminishing, your external posture will reflect it. A queen speaks to herself with firmness and respect. Not indulgence, not cruelty, leadership. She corrects herself without humiliation. She motivates herself without pressure. This internal dialogue becomes her posture, her pace, her gaze. People respond to this because humans are wired to sense internal order. You do not need to prove that you are a queen. Proof is for those who doubt themselves. Acting like one begins with how you think when no one is watching, how you choose when no one is validating, and how you hold yourself when no one is applauding. Power that depends on witnesses is fragile. Power that is internal is permanent. This is the foundation. Everything else, boundaries, composure, influence, rests on this decision to treat yourself as sovereign. And once that decision is made, everything begins to change quietly, steadily, and irreversibly. Once your identity is anchored in self-respect, the next evolution is self-command. A queen does not merely know her worth, she governs her emotional world with discipline and precision. Emotional boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you, but structures that protect your energy and focus. Psychology shows that those who lack boundaries experience higher emotional exhaustion because their nervous systems are constantly responding to external stimuli. A queen does not live in reaction. She chooses when to engage, when to disengage, and when to remain still. Stillness, when intentional, is a strategic position, not a passive one. Emotional self-command begins with understanding that not every feeling deserves expression and not every thought deserves belief. The mind produces thousands of thoughts daily, many shaped by past conditioning rather than present reality. A queen observes her inner landscape without immediately identifying with it. She asks, "Is this true? Is this useful? Is this aligned with who I am becoming?" This cognitive filtering is a form of power. Without it, emotions hijack behavior. With it, emotions become data that inform wise action. Boundaries are often misunderstood as confrontational or harsh, but true boundaries are calm and non-negotiable. They are communicated more through consistency than conversation. When you repeatedly explain your limits, you reveal uncertainty. When you enforce them quietly, you reveal authority. Behavioral psychology shows that humans learn how to treat us based on what we tolerate, not what we say. A queen understands this. She does not threaten boundaries. She lives them. She removes herself from disrespect without drama. She does not punish. She withdraws access. Emotional discipline is the ability to tolerate discomfort without abandoning your values. This is where many people falter. They confuse peace with avoidance and kindness with self-erasure. A queen knows that short-term discomfort often prevents long-term regret. Saying no may feel uncomfortable in the moment, but saying yes to what violates you creates a deeper internal fracture. Over time, that fracture erodes self-trust. Self-command is choosing the discomfort that preserves your integrity rather than the comfort that costs you your dignity. You will notice that when you stop over-explaining, some people become unsettled. This is not your responsibility to fix. People accustomed to access without accountability resist boundaries because boundaries disrupt entitlement. A queen does not personalize this reaction. She understands that resistance is information. It reveals who benefited from your lack of limits. Emotional maturity means allowing others to feel their disappointment without rushing to soothe it. You are not responsible for managing emotions that arise from your healthy choices. A regulated nervous system is central to emotional authority. When you are triggered, your body enters a survival state, narrowing perception and accelerating reaction. A queen trains herself to pause before responding. She breathes deeply, grounding herself in the present moment. This pause interrupts the stress response and restores access to higher reasoning. Neuroscience confirms that even brief pauses can shift the brain from reactivity to regulation. This is why composure is magnetic. It signals safety and control. Emotional boundaries also require discernment in disclosure. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Oversharing is often mistaken for authenticity, but it is frequently a bid for connection or validation. A queen shares intentionally. She understands that mystery is not manipulation, it is privacy. Privacy preserves power. When you reveal everything to everyone, you dilute your presence. When you choose carefully, your words carry weight. Silence, when grounded in self-command, often communicates more than explanation ever could. Self-command means mastering the art of non-engagement. Not every comment requires a reply. Not every provocation deserves acknowledgement. Attention is currency. Where you place it determines what grows in your life. A queen invests her attention in what aligns with her values and withdraws it from what seeks to destabilize her. This is not avoidance. It is strategic allocation of energy. People quickly learn that drama finds no home where composure resides. Emotional boundaries are also internal. You must stop arguing with yourself, shaming yourself, or replaying conversations in your mind. Rumination drains authority. A queen notices when her mind spirals and gently redirects it. She replaces self-criticism with self-correction. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" she asks, "What is this teaching me?" This reframing preserves dignity while encouraging growth. Leadership over self requires compassion paired with firmness. As you strengthen emotional boundaries, you may feel loneliness at first. This is a transitional space, not a destination. When you stop accepting shallow connections, there is a temporary quiet before deeper alignment appears. Many people retreat at this stage, returning to old patterns to avoid discomfort. A queen does not. She trusts the process. She understands that solitude used wisely sharpens discernment. It allows her to hear her own voice clearly, unpolluted by external noise. Self-command also involves releasing the need to be understood. Understanding is desirable, but it is not required for self-respect. When you need others to understand you, you place them in a position of authority over your choices. A queen explains when it serves clarity, not when it serves insecurity. She is comfortable being misinterpreted by those who do not have the context or capacity to see her fully. Her alignment is internal, not dependent on consensus. Emotional power is quiet because it is contained. Containment does not mean repression, it means direction. A queen feels anger, disappointment, and desire, but she channels them intentionally. Anger becomes clarity. Disappointment becomes discernment. Desire becomes purpose. Without direction, emotions scatter energy. With direction, they become fuel. This is the difference between emotional volatility and emotional strength. One destabilizes, the other commands respect. Respect is not demanded. It is elicited through consistency. When your reactions are predictable in their composure, people feel grounded around you. They may not always like your boundaries, but they will sense your steadiness. Humans instinctively trust those who are emotionally consistent. A queen does not oscillate between extremes. She is measured, deliberate, and calm. This does not make her boring. It makes her formidable. You may notice that as your self-command strengthens, fewer people attempt to cross your boundaries. This is not coincidence. Boundaries communicated energetically are often more effective than those communicated verbally. Your posture, tone, pace, and eye contact all signal your internal authority. When these cues align with self-respect, others adjust automatically. This is embodied psychology in action. The body often speaks before words do. Self-command also means knowing when to walk away without resentment. Resentment binds you emotionally to what no longer serves you. A queen releases with neutrality. She understands that closure does not require conversation. It requires acceptance. Acceptance of what is, not what should have been. This acceptance frees energy for what aligns. Holding on to resentment is like carrying unnecessary weight. It slows you down and clouds judgment. As you embody emotional boundaries, you stop needing control over others because you gain control over yourself. Control over self is the highest form of power. It allows you to respond instead of react, to choose instead of comply, to lead instead of follow emotional impulses. This self-command creates an internal calm that others feel. Calm is contagious. It sets the emotional tone of any environment you enter. A queen's emotional world is orderly, not chaotic. This order does not come from perfection, but from practice. Each time you choose composure over confrontation, clarity over confusion, and boundaries over guilt, you reinforce neural pathways that support authority. Over time, this becomes your default state. You no longer have to think about being composed. You simply are. This is when emotional discipline transforms into embodied presence. From this place of self-command, confidence stops being something you try to project and becomes something you inhabit. Your words slow, your movements become deliberate, your reactions soften. You are no longer proving anything. You are simply being. And in that being, there is an unmistakable sense of command that does not need to raise its voice to be heard. This is the quiet power that prepares you for the final evolution. Embodied confidence and composure that commands respect without demanding attention or validation. When confidence becomes embodied rather than performed, it changes the way you occupy space. You no longer seek permission to be present, and you no longer feel the need to announce yourself. A queen's confidence is grounded, not inflated. It is expressed through calm posture, steady eye contact, and an unhurried pace. Psychology shows that the body and mind operate in a feedback loop. When you move with intention and stillness, your nervous system interprets safety and authority. This internal signal then shapes how others perceive you. You are not trying to be impressive. You are simply settled within yourself. Embodied confidence means you are no longer negotiating your worth through external response. Praise does not inflate you, and criticism does not collapse you. You receive feedback without internalizing it as identity. This emotional neutrality is rare, and rarity commands respect. When others realize they cannot control you through approval or disapproval, they interact with you differently. Influence grows where emotional independence exists. A queen understands that validation-seeking weakens presence, while self-validation stabilizes it. Composure is the outward expression of inner order. It shows in how you listen without interrupting, how you respond without defensiveness, and how you allow silence without discomfort. Silence is a powerful communicator. It signals confidence, reflection, and discernment. Many people speak to fill space because silence exposes insecurity. A queen allows silence because she trusts herself. In that silence, others often reveal more than they intended. This is not manipulation, it is awareness. Your physical presence begins to mirror your psychological alignment. You stand taller, not from effort, but from ease. Your gestures become minimal and intentional. Behavioral research confirms that people associate controlled movement with leadership and credibility. Excess motion often signals anxiety. A queen's stillness is not stiffness, it is grounded energy. She is comfortable in her body because she is at peace with her identity. This peace translates into gravitas. Embodied confidence also changes how you speak. Your voice softens, slows, and deepens in authority. You no longer rush to be understood. You choose words carefully, knowing that fewer words carry more weight. You do not argue to win. You speak to clarify. When clarity is achieved, you stop. This restraint signals mastery. Those who speak endlessly often seek control. Those who speak deliberately already have it. A queen commands respect not because she demands it, but because her behavior makes disrespect uncomfortable. People feel an internal check when approaching someone who is deeply self-possessed. This does not mean everyone will admire you. Some will feel challenged by your composure because it reflects what they have not cultivated in themselves. A queen allows this discomfort without shrinking. She does not adjust her frequency to soothe others' insecurities. Embodied confidence also involves comfort with visibility and invisibility. You do not need to be the center of attention, nor do you fear being seen. You can lead from the front or observe from the side with equal ease. This flexibility is power. It means your identity is not tied to a role or position. You know who you are regardless of where you stand. This internal certainty creates external adaptability. You begin to notice that people listen more closely when you speak, not because you are louder, but because you are clearer. Clarity cuts through noise. It signals self-trust. When you trust yourself, others sense it and respond accordingly. Leadership emerges naturally from this alignment. You do not seek to dominate conversations or situations. Your presence alone shifts dynamics. This is influence without force. Embodied composure also affects how you handle challenges. When faced with conflict or uncertainty, you do not rush to control outcomes. You assess, pause, and respond with intention. This measured response communicates resilience. Resilience is attractive because it suggests stability under pressure. A queen understands that panic is contagious, but so is calm. By maintaining composure, she becomes an anchor in chaotic situations. As your confidence settles into your body, you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison dissolves when self-knowledge deepens. You appreciate others' strengths without diminishing your own. There is no competition because you are not trying to occupy someone else's lane. This internal abundance frees you from envy and defensiveness. A queen celebrates excellence wherever she sees it because it does not threaten her sense of self. You also become more selective with your energy. You engage deeply rather than widely. You invest in relationships and environments that align with your values. This selectivity enhances your presence. When you are not scattered, your energy feels concentrated. Concentrated energy is felt immediately. It is why some people walk into a room and are noticed without trying. Their attention is not divided, it is anchored. Embodied confidence means you no longer explain your choices excessively. You state decisions calmly and move forward. This decisiveness communicates self-leadership. Even when outcomes are uncertain, your willingness to choose signals courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action aligned with values, despite fear. A queen does not wait for perfect certainty. She trusts her capacity to adapt and respond. Over time, this way of being becomes effortless. You are no longer acting like a queen. You are simply living as one. Your nervous system recognizes this state as familiar. Calm becomes your baseline. Authority becomes your posture. Dignity becomes your default response. This is not rigidity, it is stability. Stability allows flexibility without loss of self. You may notice that opportunities begin to align differently. People approach you with respect. Conversations deepen. Interactions feel cleaner. This is not magic. It is coherence. When your internal world is ordered, your external world reflects that order. Behavioral psychology calls this congruence. Congruence builds trust. Trust opens doors without force. Being a queen does not mean you are above others. It means you are firmly within yourself. You do not rule over people. You rule over your impulses, fears, and doubts. This self-mastery is the highest form of leadership. It inspires without instruction. It invites respect without demand. It stands steady without performance. You were never meant to chase power, approval, or validation. Those pursuits exhaust the spirit. You were meant to embody authority through self-respect, emotional discipline, and composure. When you do, the world responds naturally, not because you asked it to, but because it recognizes what is real. You are a queen, not because someone told you so, but because you chose to live in alignment with your worth. And when you act from that place, calm, grounded, and self-possessed, everything around you adjusts. Power does not need to announce itself. It simply stands.